The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world. The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
Emotional Cassie Ventura on the witness stand face to face with Sean Diddy Combs. This is in his federal sex trafficking case in New York. Her shocking testimony detailing the years of alleged abuse and the star witness reliving the infamous hotel beating. The alleged freak-offs will be another focus. So will the videos, though, be shown? The judge could make his final decision soon. And a win for the Menendez brothers. The convicted siblings resentenced, making the brothers now possibly eligible for parole. So now Eric Menendez is speaking out, and we are spotlighting the brothers' final hurdles to freedom. And Karen Reed's retrial expected to resume this morning after court was unexpectedly dark on Tuesday. So will John O'Keefe's niece and nephew take the stand? We'll talk about how their testimony will tip the scales of justice. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you. Thanks for waking up with us here on Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for a great show? Well, that's good. We got one planned for you. Let's get it started as we always do. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. It's not just children. It is not just children who can be groomed into entering abusive relationships. Case in point, Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs. She told the jury that she was 19 and he was 37 when they first met. He signed her to Bad Boy Records. She had star potential and he had star power. She was sexually inexperienced. He earned her trust, got her to become dependent upon him for her career, and she fell in love with him. Slowly but surely, she said the love would turn to violence. She said he would beat her and that he was in control of everything. She said he would force her to participate in freak-offs so her body would be hurting so badly that she would need days to recover from them. She said they became like her job. She was hurting, she was fearful, and she was in a domestic violence relationship. But it didn't start out that way. She was young and she was vulnerable, and based on her testimony, Combs exploited her trust to gain power and control over her later on. Ever try to boil a frog? You can't just toss a frog in a pot of boiling water. The frog would jump out. Instead, you put the frog in some nice, comfortable room temperature water, and then you slowly turn up the heat, and the frog won't realize that he's in the boiling water until it's too late. Well, that's what happened to Cassie. The evidence establishes that Diddy groomed her as a young lady, and before she realized the dangerousness and the lethality of the situation, she was already deep in that hot water. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Do you go on dates with married men?
Naturally?
Argumentative. So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you. He was under the impression you were having an affair, so him moving on was a natural effect from that.
He told you that?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Cult mom has a pretrial hearing for her second Arizona trial. Remember, she's not done. She faces charges for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit the murder of Brandon Boudreaux. Thank God he survived. He was married to her niece at the time. That case is going to start up at noon Eastern. In Massachusetts, we've got defendant Karen Reed's retrial expected to resume this morning at 9 a.m. Court was dark on Tuesday. We never did get official confirmation as to why, but we know the defendant was not there at the courthouse. And in New York, we've got the case I was just talking about, Cassie Ventura. Her testimony continues in Diddy's sex trafficking case, and that is, of course, your top story. Everybody in America is talking about this. Cassie on the stand revealing shocking details about these alleged freak-offs. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft is in New York City outside the courthouse with the latest.
Well, good morning to you, Julie. When court resumes here in New York City this morning, Cassie Ventura, the government star witness, will return to the stand. During yesterday's proceedings, she was very emotional at times, wiping away tears as she described the freak-offs, giving graphic details about the sessions, how they would begin with baby oil, then move on to other activities, then eventually intercourse, as Sean Combs sat in the corner and watched. She said she hated doing these freak-offs and had to be on drugs for every single session. Sean Combs was interacting with his defense counsel a lot while Cassie was on the stand, jotting down notes and passing them to his attorneys. Inside the courtroom, members of his family. We do have some video of them leaving court Tuesday evening after proceedings ended. His daughters, sons, as well as his mother. While Cassie was on the stand, she testified that she did hate those freak-offs, needed to be on drugs. She described what took place during those sessions. She also testified that Combs first proposed the freak-offs after he began physically abusing her. After the first time, she said, "I was high, so there was not much feeling, a mixture of dirty and confusion. I was humiliated." She also said the freak-offs were very choreographed. They happened in hotel rooms around the world, New York City, Atlanta, LA, Miami, Turks and Caicos, as well as Ibiza. Aliases were used at the hotels: Jackie Starr for Ventura, Frank Black or Frank White for Combs. And Julie, while Cassie was on the stand, the government asked her to flip through a binder. Inside that binder were photographs of people who had engaged in the freak-offs. Cassie was asked if she recognized the people. She named one person, saying his name was the Punisher. The direct examination is expected to conclude today, and then cross-examination will begin. The defense counsel said cross will go through Thursday. That's the latest from here in New York City, Julie. We'll send it back to you.
Our thanks to Kelly Craft for that early update. We'll be talking with Kelly more throughout the day. Now, of course, the Court of Public Opinion is weighing in on this case in the federal courthouse, and they're saying, some are saying, that the case doesn't look like a racketeering case, that it looks like a domestic violence case. So how about that? Let's talk about it. I want to bring in our guests and see what they think of some of those comments. In the studio with me, so happy to have domestic violence expert, former law enforcement officer Claudia King, and remotely criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borghardt. Good morning to you both. Claudia, let me begin with you. In terms of that question from the Court of Public Opinion, what am I watching? I'm hearing a lot about domestic violence. That's not a charge. We even heard the defense bring that up in opening statements. Well, he may be someone who beat his girlfriend, but he's not a sex trafficker. He was not involved in running a criminal enterprise for the purpose of committing crimes. What do you say to that all, please?
I say that we're seeing the foundation of the sex trafficking charges, and the prosecution is very deliberately presenting that to the jurors. So they're starting with Cassie, who is a known witness. We've already seen her being victimized in that video that we all know about. So this is the foundation that they're building with the domestic violence, the power and control, and then we're going to see that trafficking form for the jurors as we continue through the trial.
Claudia perfectly said, Rome wasn't built in a day. We got to lay the foundation. As you noted, you're right. Franz Borghardt, tapping into your experience as a former prosecutor, do you like the ordering of witnesses so far to do that in laying the groundwork for the charges that ultimately need to be proved?
I think that starting with this witness provides the most stable victim from the prosecution standpoint for the human trafficking. It gets in the domestic violence from the get-go. And look, let's not mince words, Julie. That video, the domestic violence in that video may not be germane or pertinent to the human trafficking and the RICO, but it makes Diddy look really, really bad. And at any time you can make a defendant that you're accusing of some horrendous crimes look just that much badder, giddy up, do it. And in fact, the defense even conceded this behavior from jump in the opening. So I think that they're starting their case the right way. They're starting with their most powerful, their most stable witness, victim. And it's only going to be compounded from here.
Franz, I love your analysis. Giddy up, you say. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can take a win, take it where you can get it. And thank you for noting what the defense said in open. We have a direct quote from Tenny Garagos, who's Mark Garagos' daughter. She's a lawyer, just like her dad. And she said, in part, what Combs did to Cassie on this videotape is indefensible. It's not evidence of sex trafficking. It is evidence of domestic violence. Claudia King, let's dissect that video a little bit, because I think there is some evidence in that video that is other than DV evidence, evidence of perhaps false imprisonment, because we know that she's trying to leave. She's trying to leave a freak off. He drags her back so brutally. You know, to me, yes, the beating, as Franz noted, yes, absolutely, that's helpful to the government because it makes him look so terrible. But this right here, dragging her back, the forcing of the conduct, that right there tells me, okay, this does support racketeering and the sex trafficking. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great evaluation, because a lot of people think of kidnapping or false imprisonment as what they see on TV. It's somebody tied up in a dark room to a chair, but that's not what false imprisonment or kidnapping is. In most states, it's literally just preventing someone's willful movements, and that's what we're seeing here. So I think you're spot on with that analysis.
Claudia, thank you for that. Yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's tricky, right? As a defense attorney, you have to weigh those words so carefully. Franz, I'm anxious to ask you, as a defense attorney, now you practice in the private sector, you're very seasoned. Do you like how they are trying to frame it for the jury as he's a batterer, that's terrible, he's imperfect, it's wrong, but these allegations, we don't know what these are. These have nothing to do with Diddy.
I think that as a defense attorney, sometimes the tactical approach needs to be, my client's not perfect. He did this horrible thing, but he didn't do this really horrible thing over here. And trying to fit a square peg in a round hole isn't justice. And your taxpayer money shouldn't go for that. That would be the kind of the approach. And that's kind of what we're seeing, right? I think what we're going to see with the cross-examination of this victim, this witness, is going to be about how this was about money. She sued him. This was about financial gain. And then I would also lay the framework of how many opportunities did she have to leave, and she didn't leave? How many opportunities did she take advantage of because he was Diddy? That would be the defense approach I expect to see based on that opening statement. I don't know if that's going to work, Julie, but with this case, that is not a bad defense.
Not at all. I love what you said there, Franz, about the approach of, you know, she could leave. If you're on the defense side, look, she's a famous person. She's got a lot of resources. You know, for people who maybe don't understand domestic violence and the dynamic, for those who have never been in it or don't know anyone close to them who's been in it, they might believe that. Claudia, what do you say to that, please? As someone who is an expert in this field.
Right. I think that sounds wonderful. And it would be great if every time somebody was a victim that they could jump up in that first instance and walk away. We would be in a way different society. But unfortunately, we know that the average, it takes people 7 times of leaving and coming back to their abuser to actually leave for good. You talked about earlier Diddy's control over her, and it included her career. That's financial control. And that's one of the biggest and most dangerous methods of control, because if people don't have finances or financial means, they can't go anywhere, or that's how they feel.
You're so right, Claudia. So many different facets of domestic abuse there are, as you noted, financial, physical, emotional, all of it plays in to a terrifying situation. We're not done with this discussion. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the freak-offs, how they are the central focus of this case so far, and the videos. Should they become public, the video evidence, right? Or should they just be shown to the jury? We'll discuss. Plus,
ultimately, we are here today with this result because of Eric and Lyle, because they chose to live their lives with clarity and a purpose of service that the judge was impressed by.
a legal victory for the Menendez brothers, the convicted killers, resentenced and now eligible for parole. We're spotlighting their possible path to free.
As Sean Diddy Combs faces a federal jury, Court TV's Kelly Craft is live from New York.
It was an emotional day in court.
With every development, the Diddy sex trafficking trial. Live updates on Court TV.
Just look at that touch from Trinity Rodman.
Saturday night.
When she is on the field, she changes the game.
Saturday night.
Saturday night is our night.
The new Saturday Night Out is on ION all season long.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
Diddy's sex trafficking trial is what's trending in true crime this morning. Welcome back. The judge is set to decide if the infamous freak-off videos will be made public. So media organizations, including the Associated Press, are asking the court to let a select number of pool reporters view the recordings that will then be shown to the jury. The judge provisionally denied that request on Tuesday, but is going to make the official ruling today. Prosecutors are arguing against the release of the video, saying that the attorneys for the alleged victims objected on grounds of re-victimizing them. So we're asking, should the court release the freak-off videos to the media pool? Let's bring in our guests. I want to welcome in criminal defense and civil rights attorney Cassie Ventura and the former co-host of the Hot 97 morning show, radio legend in New York, Lisa G. Good morning to you both. Should these videos become public? Cassie, will you start us off with your thoughts, please?
Absolutely not, Julie. What is the purpose other than the explicit descriptions that have already been given? I mean, the media has no really evidentiary value to request these videos. And I know that the judge provisionally denied it, and I do hope that the judge will deny it flat out. They can utilize the testimony of the witnesses, and they can come to a conclusion as to what's on these videos. I mean, I do a lot of sex trafficking cases and child abuse sexual cases, and these types of evidence, whether it's in video or photography, it's usually sealed to protect the victims in this case. So I would hope that the judge will deny the request of the media because it is not necessary for it to be exposed and possibly leaked.
Right, or leaked. Good point. Thank you for that. Lisa G., want your thoughts on this, please?
Yeah, I have to agree. And you have to understand that this case has really gripped New York City. I've known P. Diddy, Puffy for 30 years. There were kind of rumblings about maybe some of this stuff, but to know that it's actually happening and to hear about it yesterday, it was disturbing. The testimony was graphic. It is really amazing. I think people who are music fans are glued to their TVs going like, wow, I can't believe this is going on. And so the purpose to release these freak-off videos, I don't think it's necessary. I think the testimony has been gripping. And right now, I feel that's enough. And today is going to be another big day.
Right, Lisa. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you both on this. I would say there's really no purpose that would be served that would outweigh the interest in protecting the victims from re-victimization, really protecting everybody involved. What would those pool members of the media do with it? You know, it's not, you're going to show it? No, you're not going to show it. Are you going to describe it? No, probably not, because that would be too graphic. You know, we all have to abide by the FCC. So, you know, I think we're going to get a sense of what happened through the arguments of the attorneys and the testimony in the witness box. Let's talk a little more about that testimony now. Cassie Ventura set to be back on the stand this morning. We want to focus now on her appearance and how it could be a factor for the jury.
You've been waiting so long, I'm here to answer your call. I know that I shouldn't have had you waiting at all.
That was Cassie almost 20 years ago performing her hit single, Me and You. This was while she was an artist under Diddy's label, Bad Boy. All right, so on Tuesday, day one of her testimony began. She's expected to be up there all week. She is soon to be a mother of 3. She already has 2 daughters, and she's expecting her 3rd baby soon. She's 8.5 months pregnant. And this is a courtroom sketch of her where you see her tearing up, getting very emotional, talking about Diddy, the abuse she says she endured, the sex with various male escorts she said she was forced to have. Jurors are aware of her pregnancy. She has notified the court that she may need some breaks that may need to be accommodated, and the court is, of course, going to accommodate that. When they saw her walk in, she had a very fitted, tight brown dress on. They could see her baby bump, very visible, and they can see it from where she's seated in the witness stand. And at some points from the reporting that we have, she was kind of fidgeting in the chair, just like we all do when you sit for a long time and get uncomfortable, and perhaps she's a little more uncomfortable because of being in such a late stage of the pregnancy. So does that affect her as a witness? Does that make her more sympathetic? How do you think the jury is viewing it? I want to ask our power panel now. Lisa G., let me go to you first, please. Your thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely think that she appears to be more sympathetic. And what I understand is going to happen today is that she's going to talk about that she's been in therapy. Excuse me. And I think the jury will really see that she's turned her life around and that she was really in such a terrible domestic abusive relationship. And as a juror, how can you not view that video of Puffy kicking and beating her and dragging her and not feel something about that? And then to see her today and how she turned her life around, I think that will be a big plus.
Yes, well said, Lisa. Cassie, your thoughts, please.
Well, there's definitely no way of getting around that video. So if the defense was smart, they would accept the domestic violence portion and just try to steer away or argue away from the more serious charges of kidnapping and the racketeering. But I do believe that the vision of her being this mother, this nurturer, I mean, you have an 8-4 split, 8 men, I believe, and 4 women. So those women, especially if they're mothers, they're going to form this type of connection. You want to believe that jurors are fair and impartial and that they are taking their job as a juror seriously. But we have to remember that these jurors are human. They're filled with emotion. There's times that I have trials. If the witness cries, sometimes if you take a glance at the juror, they're emotional. They feel those emotions. So I believe that her being pregnant does have some type of effect. But that video, that defense, they better wave the white flag on that one so that they can deflect from the more serious charges.
Casey, you're so right. Let's talk a little bit generally about Diddy and his celebrity and how that kind of plays into the case. Lisa, you're someone, as you said, you've known him for many years. You've interviewed him. He's been on your show. What were some of the impressions you had of him throughout the years and his personality as he rose to major stardom?
Like energy around him, a negative energy, like a whirlwind, like tornado. He was, professional. He was very laser focused in what he wanted to accomplish and to promote. But I just didn't like the energy around him. And I think that's followed him throughout his career. For some reason, he's used that to, move up the ranks and become this mogul. But I always thought of it as negative energy.
That's interesting. And Lisa, we had the tech gremlins kind of interrupting the first part of what you said. We didn't get it. So were you saying, did you always sense a little bit of a negative energy? Is that what you shared?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Always sensed a bit of negative energy, like a negative tornado around him when he would come into the studio. And he just used that to his own power to move up the ranks and become a music mogul. And from what we're hearing in this trial, to intimidate people and to threaten people.
Right. Did he ever bring Cassie with him? I'm curious. Were you ever around her and him together?
No, he would just come in usually by himself. And then I guess his assistants were out in the hallway, but he would come in by himself, but always with a product or something to promote. He was relentless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we certainly see how it paid off. I mean, all the various business ventures, and now we'll see if the government can prove that he was engaging in criminal activity under the Combs enterprises. We'll leave it there for now. Great discussion as always. Lisa G, I know we have to let you go. Get on with your day. Thank you so much. We'll see you back here soon. Casey is coming with us, and please do the same at home. Still ahead here on Opening Statements.
Can you answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, is you telling Lyle what?
My dad had been molesting me. There was no reason to lie. Clearly he was coming to me, wanted me to do something about it.
Could the Menendez brothers now be set free? The convicted killers eligible for parole after a judge resentences them. We'll show you what the brothers said in the courtroom. Plus, defendant Karen Reed's retrial is expected to resume this morning with testimony that could tip the scales of justice big time. John O'Keefe's niece and nephew, they became like his kids, are expected to be on the stand. We'll talk about it next. Welcome back. The Menendez brothers are one step closer to being released. This morning, we're turning the spotlight on what's next for the convicted killers. Late Tuesday, a California judge reduced their sentences for killing their parents from life without parole to 50 years to life. So this makes them now eligible for parole. Mark Garagos, the attorney representing the Menendez family, had this to say after the court made its decision.
On a day like today, that redemption is possible. And to those you saw X-rated talk today, you saw kind of the ridiculous nature of the cross-examination. You can turn anything on its head. The fact is, the Menendez brothers have done remarkable work, and today is a great day after 35 years.
The next step is a June 13th parole board hearing. The board could either deny their request or recommend to the governor that they be given parole. If the parole board recommends that they be released on parole, the decision goes to the governor's office. The governor has 120 days to act. So, did the judge make the right call? What do you think? Hit us up on social media. I know what I think. I want to know what my guests think, though. Let me bring in attorneys Casey Early and Franz Borghardt. All right, Franz, what do you say? Was it the right decision?
This entire case, Julie, is crazy to me. These guys have a cult following of people that weren't even alive when they were convicted.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the fact that they are now trendy is shocking to me. Now, I understand that they were victimized. And maybe under the California law, that is a good reason to grant them parole. I'm really at a loss for this one. And look, kudos to them. They have parole eligibility now. They still have to get parole and approved by the governor. And in my experience, that's not always a foregone conclusion. But now that it's trendy and politicized, maybe it is.
You know, it certainly has become something that's been trending for quite some time. It has entered the political realm. Franz, you're exactly right. The series, while it was very entertaining, did not have all the facts. It was not entirely rooted in facts. Yes, Casey, I know you know. I mean, it made it seem like the abuse has been proven when there were court records that established these two fabricated evidence and suborned perjury about it and lied, tried to get other people to lie and claim that their dad had abused them to try to make the story work. And the DA's office has been firm that the abuse has never been substantiated. It's their word, and even taking that into account, even if you say, yes, okay, I'm going to believe that you were abused, to do two homicides the way they did, Casey, what do you think? Did the judge make the right call?
I disagree with the judge wholeheartedly. First and foremost, this is what happens when you utilize evidence that's not in court to get the court of public opinion to express what they believe the case is. I only believe that after 35 years of being incarcerated, they finally expressed this remorse. They finally accepted responsibility. They finally admitted that they lied. So it does nothing for their credibility because they wanted the opportunity for parole. And I understand the youthful offender law in California where if a crime was committed when you were under the age of 26, then you may have the possibility of parole. But I don't believe that they should reap the benefits because they were not truthful. So I disagree with the judge's decision. I believe that they killed their parents in cold blood because of their greed. And I do not believe they will be granted parole on the first or even the second round. So they need more time to sit now that they've acknowledged their involvement so that they can continue their punishment.
Right, Casey, I'm with you. We'll be 3 for 3 on this panel. I'm appalled at what I saw. Let's take a look at some of what the Menendez brothers told the court. Lyle saying to the judge, quote, "I killed my mom and dad. I give no excuses." Eric Menendez said, quote, "I committed an atrocious act. My actions were criminal, selfish, and cowardly. No excuse, no justification for what I did. I have come a long way on this path of redemption. I will not stop trying to make a difference." And then we have DA Nathan Hochman, of course, who very carefully reviewed all the evidence before making any type of decision on what to do. And here's some of what he said. He said, "Our opposition and analysis ensured that the court received a complete and accurate record of the facts. Justice should never be swayed by spectacle." I love that. A tough battle, isn't it, Franz, for this DA when everybody seems to have really enjoyed it, myself included. I enjoyed the series on Netflix very much. I found it very entertaining. It was very well done. But, you know, I also have the benefit of working at Court TV where we know what really, we've got the actual trial in our trial library and we know how they lied to the court and that the motivation was money. What do you think about how the DA's office handled this, Franz? Did you like it? Anything you think they could do better? Your analysis of them, please.
I think he was very intellectually honest, and that was refreshing in this entire situation because a lot of individuals and positioners have not been. Additionally, he has an obligation to protect the public. If these guys get out and they perpetrate another crime, and I know there's going to be naysayers that say, well, no, after 35 years, that will never happen. We can't assure that. We can't guarantee that. And look, I'm a supporter of parole. I'm an advocate of parole, and I like people who reform after decades of incarceration. That said, I think he did a bang-up job, and I think he's doing what he can to protect the community and also what he thinks is right, frankly.
Right. Well said, Franz. Casey, let me ask you, please, about what we think Governor Gavin Newsom may do. We know he's done podcasting on his podcast, and he's talked about official state business, this case in particular, on that podcast. What do you think his next move is going to be if the parole board, were to recommend release, and then it's in his discretion what to do?
I truly believe that he's going to be swayed not by the file, but by public opinion, by potential voters, by his position. He had a different outlook and a different presentation as opposed to the DA who looked at the facts and was upholding the hands of justice. I don't agree if he agrees to sign off on parole. I do not believe that punishment has been served because for all of these years they denied. So I do believe he'll have an opposite position from the DA and it will be swayed by the public.
Great points, Casey. I want to play for you both a clip from one of the Menendez family members who's been supporting them. And isn't it kind of wild? They've got so much support from their family. And you have to wonder, how well do these family members really know them? They've been behind bars for so many years since they were young men. And this is a cousin who's been adamantly supporting them. Her name is Anna Maria Baralt. And this is her reaction to hearing Lyle and Eric Menendez admit to the murders.
It was very moving. I think everybody in the courtroom was moved by that. They've said those words to me personally before. That was not the first time that I had heard them take full accountability for their actions, for the effect that it had on my life, and express that. So I'm glad everyone else got to hear it.
And nobody's talking about Jose and Kitty Menendez, the victims. Franz, does that bother you that the focus has really been taken away from the people who were wronged here, and it's put on the perpetrators?
I think what we're seeing is the double-edged sword of our wonderful true crime community, which can solve crimes, can help propel and launch justice. Sometimes it becomes part of the problem. And I think the fact that that family member at least, is saying what she's saying, I think it's tone deaf to the fact that we have 2 dead parents. And look, I leave room for the possibility that, by the way, that they absolutely sexually abused them. I also leave room for the possibility that the way we address that is through our justice system and not through murder. So, you know, it feels, Julie, I'm going to use the word, it feels gross.
Mm-hmm. Right. Excellent analysis, Franz. Casey, tell me your thoughts, please, on whether you think that the focus really has been kind of upside down in this whole, I don't even know what you call it, a spectacle movement, whatever it is, advocacy push to get these brothers out.
Yeah, the focus has definitely been on the Menendez brothers, because if you ask his supporters what are the names of his parents, they don't know. And that's the unfortunate part of this entire case. And even with the family, you know, I hate to sound rude, but they sound delusional, because she's saying that that's not the first time that they admitted guilt and admitted involvement. Well, I wonder, would we even be here seeking parole if they had admitted guilt on the stand while they took the oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Their admissions came 35 years too late. We wouldn't be here discussing the Menendez brothers had they not smeared their parents' names and made them seem as if they were sexual abusers when they were the true killers, and their intent and motive was greed.
Great analysis, Casey. Early, Franz Borghardt. We'll leave it there for now. Casey, we have to let you get off to court. Casey has got cases to win. We'll see you back here very soon. Thanks for everything. And Franz is coming with us. He's got a day off from court. We're going to see him again at 10 a.m. this morning for Court TV Live. When we come back, we're going to Dedham, Massachusetts. Defendant Karen Reed's retrial expected to resume. A live look at the fan in the courtroom. We're expecting John O'Keefe's niece and nephew to testify today. How will they tip the scales? That's next.
Is Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was framed! We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Friday nights, the WNBA is on ION. Come on! Friday. The Lynx try grounding the Wings.
Got it!
Then the Sparks fly into the new Valkyries. Coverage begins Friday night at 7. Find ION wherever you watch. ION, it's on.
Now for what's tipping the scales of justice, we're expected to hear from John O'Keefe's niece and nephew today. You'll recall he was like their dad. He was taking care of them after their parents passed away. Now during Karen Reed's first trial, John's niece testified that Reed said to her on the night of John's death, quote, "What if I hit him?" John O'Keefe's mom, Peggy, testified about having to tell the children about John being killed.
When they were upstairs, what were you doing?
I was trying to calm the kids.
Both of them?
But yeah, well, mainly.
How was reacting?
He was very upset once we told him, because he slept over a friend's house the night before, and he just said, "I'll never see him again."
John's niece testified that she never saw Karen Reed again after she left the house the morning after John was killed. So, will the children's testimony tip the scales? I certainly think so. What do you think? Hit us up on social media. Let us know. Let's talk about it. I want to bring in domestic violence expert, former law enforcement officer, and the host of the podcast Strong Enough, Claudia King. We're so pleased to have her in the studio with us. Claudia, what do you think the kids are going to do for that jury?
I think they're really going to humanize John because we haven't really had that yet, and they're going to really show him as that amazing uncle who turned into a father in their time of need. I think they can also give us some insight into the relationship between Karen and John. What were their fights like? Did they fight a lot? Did she ever threaten him in those heated moments? So I think they do have a lot to say, and I think the jury can get a lot of great information from both of them.
Definitely. We know that John's niece is a witness in more ways than one, right? Because we know, as you said, she can testify to the relationship, all sorts of things, prior to the incident in question. But then in the wee hours of the morning, it was Karen Reed using John's niece as a way to get to these other women who were dear friends of John's, Carrie Roberts and Jennifer McCabe. And so she was asking John's niece to call them, getting numbers from them. For them, rather. We have a little bit of a look back from the niece's testimony in the first trial. Here were a couple takeaways our producing team pulled for us. That John's niece described Karen as a living nightmare. She said she was screaming and acting frantic the morning of John's death. And she said that John once asked Reed to leave his house, and she said no and got very loud. Okay, so that was just some of what John's niece shared. Claudia, what kind of weight do you think the jury gives the testimony of a child?
I think they will give this a lot of weight. I think both of the children are well-spoken. I think the niece has, as you said, some of this other evidence to share about that night. And it also speaks to Karen potentially, because how horrible if she hit him and knows that she did, how horrible to bring in his niece as kind of part of the cover-up of what she did wrong. Right. Absolutely tragic. So I think the niece will have a lot to say. I think she will have a great impact on the jury about that night, and even going forward, that she said she's not seen Karen since. That doesn't make any sense. These were supposed to be kind of not her kids, but she was supposed to have a relationship with them as well, and has made no effort to see them. So I think that speaks volumes too.
Right. We know that she's never been to John's grave as well. That was something that came out in the ID doc that was so well done, the Body in the Snow documentary. And that was certainly a head scratcher for me. I think for many of us. Was it for you too, Claudia?
It was a head scratcher. In addition to one of the comments she made was she expected to see a lump in the snow or something when she referred to him as like a lump or a hump in the snow.
Buffalo on the prairie, right?
Yeah,
right.
Are you kidding me? This was supposed to be your beloved. Right. So, yeah, the fact that she said that, she's never been to the grave, these things just don't add up to me.
Right. Well, you were a police officer. I mean, you're following the evidence. I mean, look, I always go into things with an open mind. I know you do too, and we have the benefit of having seen the evidence all for years. We've been, as we went through the first trial and now this one. Her defense team has put forth this story where they're making her out to be the victim of a frame job and of this attack that seems to have come out of nowhere. There's a lack of a motivation for this attack. There's also no evidence of it. Last time they weren't able to meet their burden of production, so the court did not allow them to get any kind of jury instruction for it. So far, I know we're in the Commonwealth's case. It's tricky, Claudia, but do you think that anything's going to be different this time around in terms of them getting to argue more or show us more with their theory?
I just don't think there is. It's just not there. And if it's not there, they're not going to be able to show it. And so I don't think they're going to get any further than they did last time.
Right. Claudia King, always great analysis from you. Thank you so much. You're going to be back with us throughout the day. And so here's what we're going to do. We're getting close to the start of Court TV Live. We're going to hit a break. My friends, if you like this episode of Opening Statements, you can watch it again. You can share it. We put the episodes up for you every day. Just click on the Shows tab on your favorite website, courttv.com.